Hello, welcome to the channel. This is some of the most extraordinary stuff I've ever read in my life. I wasn't sure whether to do this video, but I stumbled across an article on kartmotor.com.br, which is like a Brazilian karting website, and it's like, I've never seen such fury vented against, I guess it would be the FIA in all of my life. And this includes, the introduction of KF and all that kind of disaster. But, so, the rough story is, Felipe Massa announced, I think it was in 2019, the World Championship was going to go to Brazil, right? At the Speedway kart circuit. And, that's quite a big deal, really. World Championship events outside of Europe are quite rare. I think the most recent one, from my memory, is Macau, and I think they went to Argentina in the early 90s, and I know there might be a couple of other ones. Anyway, of course, then 2020 happened, so the event was postponed to 2021. And then a few months ago, T-Kart reported that the teams, the major Italian teams, and other teams as well, it wasn't just the Italian teams, didn't really want to go to Brazil because of the cost and the restrictions and all that kind of stuff. Then the FIA came back. They reiterated their confidence in the event, that it was going to go ahead, and then they delayed it to December. And then a few days ago, basically the FIA announced that they're going to cancel the event in Brazil and hold the World Championship in Spain, Campinas. And if you look at the comments from the initial cancellation on Instagram, you can see that the Brazilians are apoplectic with rage. I've never seen anything so. I mean, and the Kart Motor article, and it's a translation off of Google Translate, so I hope I'm sort of getting the right vibe from it. I think they titled it "The Unbelievable Cancellation of the World Championship in Brazil." Basically, for example, they make the good point. They said, about the World Championship. Needs to depart from Europe, otherwise it's just a European Championship in all but name. I've highlighted some stuff here, so you have to bear with me. It's kind of mad. And they said, there was numerous confirmations that the Worlds would happen in Brazil, and they put most recently in early September. Willibald Zotti, the FIA's technical safety inspector, was in for the third time at the Speedpark to inspect and release an adaptation work that cost around $300,000. It might be wrong, and it said, by the way, it already had Group 1 and Group 2 approval, and yes, and it's all been signed off. And that's kind of, the article was referencing that a lot of money has been spent at the circuit to get the circuit ready, and then the article goes on, talks about Ricardo Garcia, I think is the guy that owns the race circuit. They make a mention, interestingly, that they reported earlier that they had enough entries from the Brazilian side to have enough entries so it officially could be a World Championship event. And that was in an earlier article called Kart Motor Investigates and Publishes Unofficial and Unpublished Entry List for the World Cup in Brazil. Because I think they knew early on that with the European-based teams not wanting to go, they knew that, of course, if you don't have enough entries, you can't run the event anyway. So they published and said that thus we have confirmation, and I think they just asked around. We had 28 drivers in OK and 29 drivers in OK Junior. The Kart Motor portal still has information that some foreigners, Germany, England and the United Arab Emirates, are also confirmed, but we do not have numbers or names, so that's sort of speculative. The owner of Speedpark, Ricardo Garcia, also made it clear that the competition would only be held with 20 confirmed drivers in each category. So they were saying, Kart Motor, that they had enough entries for it to be an official World Championship status. So in essence, if the FIA were to cancel, they couldn't use lack of entries as a reason. Now, this is where you get another extraordinary statement. So the CBA, which is the Brazilian Automobile confederation, or the Confederation of Brazilian, was it Automobilista? It's in Portuguese. And I try and use the Google Translate, and I use the various translations because I wanted to be careful. But it says the Brazilian automobile. This is the statement from the CBA. So this is the affiliate governing body in Brazil. The Brazilian Automobile Confederation and Speedpark regret to inform that by unilateral decision and without really a convincing justification, the FIA cancelled this Friday, the 17th, World Karting Championship scheduled for the city of Birigui from the 2nd to 5th of December. The alleged motive was the virus that I won't name. And they make another... And that to me is one of the most extraordinary statements I've ever read off of a governing body in my life. I just think that's... the implications. This is a huge news story. Really, it's a gigantic news story. But of course, the mass motorsport media won't pick up on it because karting to them is something they don't want to touch with a barge pole because they don't understand it, or they don't want to give it promotion, give it credibility because it undermines car racing essentially, which is fair enough. That's their decision. Now. The main thrust from Kart Motor and this is replicated as well on all the comments on social media is, this late in the day to be cancelling when they feel like they've had assurances from the FIA is remarkable. You've got to understand that for 2 years now you would have had karters, and not just the money that the circuit would have spent and all of that kind of that sort of spending. It's the spending from the drivers themselves. If the numbers are correct and say you've got 30 in senior and roughly 30 in juniors, so let's say realistically, I don't know, take a few off because you can't be 100% sure, say 50 drivers, right? You've got 50 drivers spending thousands of dollars, to prepare, because a lot of these wouldn't be coming to race in Europe. It would be they'd only race it because it's in Brazil, because of course exchange rates and that kind of stuff is a nightmare. So a lot of them would be preparing for this race. It'd be a huge deal for them, and because Brazil is a sort of idiosyncratic nation. I've got a real soft spot for Brazil and the karting culture, because they've got a good, strong karting culture. They really know who they are. The Sudan product was fantastic and kind of something I think would have, as a base, would be better than what we ended up with KF. And all they get from the FIA is a statement that says, "It is with great sadness," and this is Felipe Massa, "that we find ourselves having to cancel the World Championship in Birigui. The global situation caused by the thing make the event impossible to happen where we want it to go. I'd like to personally thank the local organiser, Speedpark, and the CBA staff for their commitment and hard work to date, and we look forward to working together with them to develop FIA karting in Brazil. A new event will take place in Europe to allow the best kart drivers in the world to finish their season with a World Championship." I think that should be some of the best kart drivers in the world, not all of the best drivers end up racing at these events. The current structure and formula is not working. So that is not a statement that I think is reflective of the absolute devastation that the Brazilians will be feeling. And I wanted to do this video because I wanted the Brazilians to know that there isn't much talk of this cancellation over in Europe. The factories and the teams didn't want to go, and in essence that they've got their way. And I want to sort of be a bit sort of balanced on this. I can understand why European-based teams don't really want to travel to South America and all that kind of stuff. And I know that the Speedway, the Speedpark had guaranteed sort of costs were going to be covered on various things, but there's obviously restrictions and that kind of complexity. So I understand that it's kind of business at the end of the day, but I also understand that the reassurances that the Brazilians would have had or felt they had according to that article, and then to be told this late in the day that your race is going to be cancelled, and then find out it's going to be because it was delayed till December, and then the World Championship is now going to be held in October in Spain. So you can understand why they're kind of asking a few questions about everything. But they've spent thousands and thousands of dollars, and that to me, I just want to extend a sort of, I don't know, some sort of sympathy, because the way that they've been treated on the surface level, from what I can observe from the UK, is terrible. And to have that event promised and then taken away from them, because I can't think many countries in the world outside of Europe. I can actually, no, in Europe as well, I can't think that many countries would embrace the World Champion. They didn't. It wasn't when the World Championship round came here. We had a few wild cards. It wasn't like the whole karting community got around it. But I get the sense in Brazil that this was a real big deal, and I can't imagine many countries that would embrace it that much. And to have it taken away from them in this sort of fashion, this late in the day, is not particularly professional. It's not professional governance. And I don't know what the solution is. It's kind of an impossible situation, because you have all the big teams in Europe and you want the big teams at the World Championship, but you also want a country like Brazil to have and host the World Championship, because I think they deserve it. I think they've contributed to motorsport more than enough, and especially with regard to kart racing. So a real difficult situation. I've never seen fury like it in my life, and this is real tangible story that really should be picked up by other outlets, but of course it won't be. I'll link the articles down below, the statement from the CBA, so you can see it all for yourself. I'm just relaying the information to you. I don't know what this means for Felipe Massa's presidency. I don't think, there was two things that he's already done. The MG tyres, which I don't think the paddock particularly likes anyway, because they only introduced those because of the supply issue with going to Brazil. I suspect that maybe we'll move back to the cons. I might be wrong, but that wasn't particularly welcome, I don't think, by some of the teams. That particular tyre, and of course the race in Brazil, which isn't going to happen. Maybe they should have been told earlier. I personally feel like I never thought the event was going to happen, but it kind of seemed a bit pie in the sky to me. The way things are going in the world at the moment, unless there's a real big cultural shift, away from kind of, the sort of issues that we're facing now. I think these sort of events we won't be getting anytime soon, unless you're talking gigantic championships like Formula One. So, yeah. Brazil, saying SMIC, some of us over here have noticed, and I don't know what to say. It would have been great to see the event in Brazil, but yeah, good luck to anybody that can afford to come to Campeos. I mean, I would not. I think they Massa mentioned in these press release that they want to develop FIA Karting in Brazil, and I think good luck with that. It's going to be very difficult. And thanks for watching. And what a bizarre story.